Hey there people, how you doing? So, today we have the video comparison between the Vivo X50 Pro and the Oneplus 8 Pro. And well, truth be told, I honestly thought that this is going to be kind of a mundane comparison and well, I had expected that the Vivo would definitely come out on top by, quite a long shot because let me tell you, the video quality of the X50 Pro is pretty much fantastic. I mean, there's no other way to put it. But, well, there are quite a few interesting things that happened here and made this video comparison monumentally more interesting. And well, so without any more chit chat, why don't we just get started? Alright, so front camera video from the OnePlus 8 Pro and the X50 Pro. Of course, we all know that the front cameras aren't exactly the best things for video on either of these two devices because it's all limited to 1080p. If it was 4K, it would have been a very different story. But unfortunately it's not, and I'm really hoping that the next iterations have 4K on the front cameras because that really makes them quite a capable vlogging device, I'd say. And well, if you don't use the front camera video very often, I don't think you'll even notice that the 4K is not there. But yeah, I'd say the quality is decent, not really up there with the flagships like maybe the Samsung Galaxies or the iPhones even, but yeah, it's good enough, I'd say. So obviously the audio quality is actually quite a bit better on the X50 Pro, and I also look quite a bit brighter, although I'm also getting a little bit more blown out. But conditions weren't exactly ideal, so I'm going to give the win to the X50 Pro. But now, over here for this, what would have been a very obvious and a good win for the X50 Pro, I legitimately have no idea what the hell happened because the stabilization on the X50 Pro is just horrible. It's like the specialized gimbal camera just fell off or something. I don't know, it's pretty bad. And for a phone which basically specializes around stability, it's really weird, and even more so because something like this has never happened before, like in all the time I've used the phone. As for video quality, like judging it quite objectively, I'd say the X50 Pro is a little bit better because of the better balance of saturation and contrast. Now for the ultra stable modes on both, the stabilization is apparently fixed. Realistically, both of them look really good. I'd say the X50 Pro is like a little bit better by the smallest margin, and having 60 FPS can also allow us to slow it down in post. But obviously what makes me choose the X50 Pro is the colors and also the better dynamic range. But of course, I couldn't just let go of that weird glitch earlier, so I shot the same 4K video on the X50 Pro once again, and guess what? Second time's a charm because it worked perfectly, and again, it looks fantastic. Next up, the ultrawide video, and it would appear we have some kind of a shutter speed problem on the X50 Pro, which is why the video is stuttering so much. But the quality overall isn't that great on the X50 Pro, so I'm gonna choose the OnePlus 8 Pro for this ultrawide video here. Man, there are a lot of glitches going on with the Vivo today. Speaking of which, the stabilization is once again not working. I have no explanation as to why this is happening, that in just two very separate instances in the same video comparison, that too, it's pretty crazy. But anyways, aside from the glitches in the stabilization, the color, contrast, and overall balance is once again a little bit better on the Vivo, because you can see the OnePlus does overexpose every now and then, while the X50 Pro really keeps that very well in check. The stabilization though, that's another story entirely. And even in the ultra stable mode, the X50 Pro stabilization is not that great. It's good, way better than before, but not near flawless like it should be, considering that it's got specialized hardware for that very purpose. But I honestly didn't think I'd say this again today, but second time's once again a charm, because as you can see, upon reshooting the 4K with the same exact conditions, I'm holding it with one hand to again keep the same conditions. The stabilization is perfect. It's super smooth, and basically what I've grown to expect from the pretty mind-blowing gimbal stabilization that this one's got. I again have no idea why those weird glitches happened before, and upon testing further just to see if those glitches happen again, well, breaking news, they didn't. So it might be a 2 off thing. I don't know. But yeah, we'll talk about that later again. But for now, let's just move on to the traditional focusing test, and as you'd expect, the 8 Pro is really fast and accurate. And in particular, I like those colors and contrast levels on the 8 Pro, at least for this video. Because as you can see, the slightly flatter look on the video may help in certain situations, but not always. You can see the X50 Pro looks really flat and basically washed out in terms of colors. But focusing wise, it's also faster and accurate, but it is also a little bit jumpy, as you can see here. Finally, for some slow-mo, we have the exact same conditions. It may not look like it, but trust me, they are the same. I shot the whole thing at the same time, but for whatever reason, the X50 Pro looks quite a bit better than the Oneplus. Whether it's a dynamic range, noise levels, even flickering, it's all better on the X50 Pro. So that wraps up this kind of short, but also quite easily one of the most controversial video comparisons that I've done, because those two glitches, man, extraordinarily appalling if you ask me. Because yeah, I've never seen this happen before, and apparently it's not happening now either. So basically, I'm not even sure of what the factors are that actually led to that stabilization being completely switched off in those two particular conditions. But all I can say is I'm hoping that this problem with the stabilization, it's a small software glitch and not an actual problem in terms of the processing and whatnot, or even the hardware. But I'm going to reserve judgment for these two glitches that we saw for a little later with the next video comparison between the X50 Pro and the Mi 10. So do stay tuned for that, because there we'll finally find out if the glitch is really a glitch or is it an actual problem in terms of processing or hardware. But if we are to just ignore that and just consider that to be a one-off or two-off thing, I can definitely say the X50 Pro does still take a win, because you saw the dynamic range, the overall detail levels, and the contrast levels. They are basically perfect, and I don't know how Vivo exactly managed to make them so damn good. Obviously, they are not absolutely the best things that I've seen, but for the price and for a mid-range device as such, it's amazing to say the least. But of course, this wraps up our video comparison for today. Do stay tuned for the next one, because that's where we'll find out what those glitches are really about. But anywho, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, do hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will be seeing you guys later. Cheers.